Here are the three wise men. In Spanish, they are known as los Reyes Magos. In English, we use the plural of this term. We say magi. The words mago and magi are similar to magic, or the Spanish equivalent, mágico. Clearly, they are related. But magic is not imaginary, even though these two words are also associated. The three wise men were wise because they were initiated into the ancient mysteries. As portrayed in the Bible, a mago is a highly skilled specialist belonging to the priestly class. Metaphysician, astrologer, alchemist, magician, sorcerer, priest. The three wise men took Jesus gold, frankincense, and myrrh because of their alchemical properties. They knew about his birth in advance because of astrology. Everyone has heard of the bright star of Bethlehem that pointed the three wise men to the location of Christ's birth. Here is a quote from the Bible, Matthew 2:1. There came wise men from the east to Jerusalem, saying, Where is he that is born King of the Jews? For we have seen his star in the east, and are come to worship him. Well, when two planets are seen so close together that they appear to form a single star, the effect is known as an appulse. An appulse occurs approximately every 1,000 years, and there was one around the time of Christ's birth. The three wise men knew of Christ's location because of astrocartography. In other words, they converted their stellar observations onto the maps. You see, all information is available if you know where to look and how to decode the symbols. Kings, queens, presidents, popes, and other powerful rulers consulted astrologers, and trust me, they still do. Did you really think that the kings, queens, and leaders of the past were just stupid? Did you think that they were all completely illogical people that in no way validated what their advisors told them? Did you think that they tolerated incompetence and misinformation? There is a reason why only the richest and most powerful people consulted astrologers. Precise astrological insight is powerful. Astrology itself is precious. It was then, it is now, and it always will be. This is why Freemasonry to this day is about metaphysics. Most of the founding fathers were Freemasons. This explains why Masonic symbols are woven into American seals, streets, architecture, and even the dollar bill. If astrology were nonsense, why would successful people pay me handsomely for accurate insight? I use astrology to predict the stock markets, precious metal price movements, sports matches, world events, and even to help solve criminal cases. We like to think that we are more evolved than our ancestors. We like to think that we have improved and are still getting better all of the time. But are we improving? We have new gadgets and technologies. We presume that they could not have existed before. But we truly aren't the first. Ancient Vedic texts speak of flying machines called vimanas. Now, an airplane must have perfect aerodynamics to fly. When this pre-Incan gold sculpture was replicated as a scaled-up model in 1997, it flew perfectly. It could even perform remarkable turns, rolls, and loops. Vedic texts also cover divisions of time, molecules, atoms, missiles, balloons and parachutes, the use of hydrogen, and magnetic power. We are also making technological advancements, but what about the bigger picture? Let's be honest with ourselves. Have you considered that evolution is not linear? Have you considered that evolution is a far more complex spiral, just as our entire solar system spirals its way through space? We must drive improvement. We must become the improvement. We must change for the world around us to change. We have to take our heads out of the sand. We have to evolve beyond simply believing things that are not true, to investigating truth and identifying what works. We have to progress from the age of Pisces, the age of belief, to the age of Aquarius, the age of higher knowledge and humanity. But let's not be naive. The age of Pisces was ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter is the planet of good luck. We call him the Major Benefic. He rules abundance. The age of Aquarius is ruled by grisly Saturn. He is Jupiter's opposite. We call him the Major Malefic. And as for Mars, planet of violence and warfare, well, he works for Saturn. This is why we see so much senseless violence and destruction in our world. Through many client consultations and through my consulting work, I see how Saturn manifests himself in our world and in our lives. I have learned that there is only one way to handle him. We have to do the work that must be done. Collectively, we must go from this and this and this and this to this. It is clear that there is something very wrong in our world. We must find the spirit to rise above what is wrong, to do what is right. You see, the planets mirror our collective and individual states. And oh, what a state we are in. Again, we have to change. Or accept that we will be forced to do so through great adversity in the next few thousand years. It's not your fault. It's our fault, and we are the solution. We were brainwashed to believe what we were told. A big man in the sky judges you. Gay men will burn in hell. In addition to paying taxes, you must share your income with the church. The ruler, the preacher, the teacher, and quite possibly the whole system. You see, perhaps the kids were lied to. Perhaps we are living in a story. Maybe it's time to grow up and move on. And time is of the essence. It's time to stop praying and just do it. We have to find out what the true problems are and where their roots truly lie. Money talks. We can demand change with our purchasing power and our votes. We have to peacefully protest for change. We have to appoint competent leaders with the right values. We must eliminate poverty, corruption, and waste. And things will only change when we make it happen. We have to consider every day what we are creating for our children and our children's children. What do we want to leave for them? We must shift far beyond our current limited paradigm. Most people still think that astrology is nonsense. It's not particularly surprising, as most newspaper horoscopes are trash. Even modern astrology, well practiced, is incomplete and inaccurate. But medieval astrology is not. Our ancestors left us a great wealth of knowledge. Sadly, much of what has never been understood has been destroyed, like the recent destruction of Palmyra by Daesh. The truth is, the fortunes of men and women are subject to cycles. Cycles within cycles. Everything that occurs here on Earth and in your life is proven to be intrinsically interconnected with the planets in our solar system. Astronomy describes the movement of the planets. Astrology interprets the meaning of these movements as they relate to individuals and groups such as nations and the entire planet. A person is described most profoundly by the planetary configurations at the time of their birth. These planetary configurations also describe everything that is most likely in their life. The progression of planets during a person's lifetime describes their psychological development. This is J.P. Morgan. He said, "Millionaires don't use astrology. Billionaires do." He cancelled his ticket on the Titanic. Why? They say that his astrologer told him that he would not survive the trip. On the 22nd of December every year, the sun reaches its lowest point south of the equator on the constellation the Southern Cross. It remains there for 3 days and then begins to rise again. The sun dies on the cross and is resurrected 3 days later. Can we learn from the example of Christ? Of course, we should model all highly evolved beings. The moon governs liquid, including the ocean's tides. Hurricane Sandy was more catastrophic than other hurricanes because she occurred at the time of the full moon. As human beings are 50 to 65% water, why would they not somehow be affected by the moon, which clearly governs the mighty liquid of the oceans? The werewolf symbol describes emotions running high at the time of the full moon. He represents our deepest psycho-spiritual reality. More babies are born at the time of the full moon because it pulls the amniotic fluid. More people pass to spirit under a full moon. C.C. Zane, one of the most prolific astrological writers, said, "In the past, there were specialists, the equal of any on earth today. But instead of devoting their energies to material things, their field was that of spiritual research." These men also, standing on the shoulders of other inspired geniuses who preceded them, acquired vast knowledge in their chosen field, and of this knowledge they left a careful record. Our ancestors clearly knew far more about the unseen and the influence of astrological energies upon humans than the modern scientist. We don't know for sure where astrology came from and when it was first practiced, but we do know that it was a pivotal part of the 7 ancient centres of civilization: India, Crete, Peru, Egypt, China, Mexico, and Chaldea. Our wise ancestors studied astronomy to understand astrological influences as they affect human life and life on Earth. The Babylonian series of tablets, known as the Anu Enlil, contains the planetary alignments and coinciding events for a vast period of time. The Alexandrian Library, founded by Ptolemy Soter circa 300 BC, contained the knowledge of the world, apparently more than 700,000 volumes. A man named Eratosthenes was appointed custodian of the library. It is therefore no surprise that he could measure the globe and determined the method for identifying latitude. Roman emperors were quick to destroy the knowledge as it did not conform with the introduction of Christianity or its blind belief system. The library was destroyed. What was left of it was destroyed by the equally radical Mohammedans. America was full of astrological wisdom. But this knowledge was also destroyed to protect people from the devil. The Bible contains many references to astrology. God said in Genesis 1:14 that He created the sun and moon and stars for signals. Psalms 19:1, the heavens declare the glory of God. The heavens are God's handiwork. He has all the stars numbered and named. And God said, "Let there be lights in the expanse of the sky to separate the day from the night, and let them serve as signs to mark seasons and days and years, and let them be lights in the expanse of the sky to give light on the earth." And it was so. Genesis 1:14. Luke 21:25, "And there shall be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars." In fact, if you substitute certain words from the Bible, a great astrology manual and more is revealed. Astrology is as old as civilization. Wise people long ago were observing correlations between planetary movements and affairs on Earth. Ancient myths encode astrological wisdom. modern religions are based on sun worship. Alexander the Great's death by poisoning in Babylon was predicted by court astrologers. Julius Caesar integrated astrology into his warfare strategies. But he ignored Spurina's warning that he would die on the Ides of March. Madame Lenormand advised Napoleon not to march on Moscow. But he ignored her warning and met his demise. Lord Bacon was a skilled astrologer. Benjamin Franklin was a skilled astrologer. Newton was a skilled astrologer and alchemist. He is frequently quoted for his reply to Halley regarding his belief in astrology. He said, "I have studied these things, and you have not." Kepler used astrology to verify his successful predictions about war and weather. Carl Jung took a strong interest in astrology. He said, "Astrology represents that summation of all the psychological knowledge of antiquity." Ronald Reagan consulted an astrologer, as do many other world leaders. In the past, doctors were required to be astrologers. And many today appreciate the connection between celestial bodies and the human body. The RX symbol on prescriptions in the United States originally confirmed that the pharmacist had reviewed the patient's astrological chart. Evangeline Adams described the judge's son from his natal chart during a trial. So impressed was the judge with her accuracy that he dismissed fortune-telling charges against her. He went on to state that Adams raises the dignity of astrology to an exact science. In a recent radio interview, psychiatrist and astrologer Dr. Mitchell Gibson explained that during his first medical residency, he was responsible for the doctor's work roster. He quickly became aware that his colleagues requested not to work or be on call at the time of the full moon. Like many in the medical, psychiatric and law enforcement fields, they were fully aware of the correlation between increased accidents, crime and violence with the full moon. Psychologist Arnold Lieber at the University of Miami verified that the full moon is associated with increasing lunacy. His team reviewed data associated with 1,887 homicide cases over a 15-year period. They discovered that homicide rates increased and decreased in line with the phases of the moon. Murder rates did indeed rise at the time of the full and new moons, while decreasing during the first and last quarters. The American Institute of Medical Climatology reported a clear connection between full moons and psychotic crimes. Trees are harvested in the tropical rainforests of Asia and South America when the moon is waning, because the full moon causes the sap to rise, leading to sap bleeding and deathwatch beetle attacks. In 2007, the police force in East Sussex, England, announced their decision to increase police staffing for full moons due to evidence of increased crime and violence at that time. An article published by the British Broadcasting Corporation explained that a full moon reduces deep sleep by 1/3, and according to sleep expert Dr. Neil Stanley, it also decreases melatonin levels. Sleep is affected even when people cannot see the moon from their beds. Dr. Edson J. Andrews wrote in the Florida Medical Association Journal that 82% of post-operative bleeding cases in a study of 1,000 tonsillectomies occurred at the time of the full moon. I have countless more examples of the validity of astrology and will publish many more of them in future videos. Extreme planetary movements above and below the equator are aligned with events here on Earth and in your life. The American War of Independence began in 1775 when Pluto was at his extreme southern declination of 23.5 degrees. The American Civil War began in 1861 when Pluto was crossing the equator. World War II began in 1939 when Pluto reached his northernmost declination of 23.5 degrees. Earthquake and tsunami Sumatra, December 26, 2004, occurred when the moon turned from its extreme northern declination. Hurricane Katrina, August 29, 2005, occurred when the moon turned at extreme northern declination of 28 degrees. Pakistan's earthquake on October 8, 2005 occurred when the moon turned at her extreme southern declination of 28 degrees. On August the 24th, 1987, planets were in the tightest conjunction in at least 800 years. From that time to October 20th, the Dow fell 33%. James Holmes, Aurora, Colorado shooter, was born under an exceptionally rare band elevation just a couple of months later. I anticipate the next world crisis to be the 2020s, when Pluto will again reach its southernmost declination. I continue to research these dynamics as well as those of specific nations and will publish more information in time. So enough about the evidence and facts. How on earth did we miss all of this? Maybe we were lied to. Maybe we are still being lied to. Maybe we are not being lied to. Maybe we were just never given the full story. Maybe we lied to ourselves. It seems impossible to figure out where the truth lies, but there are many facts that we can and should consider. The evidence is undeniable to anyone that explores it properly. And we don't need to live life in the dark any longer. We can step out of the box to access everything that is available to us. My name is Stephen Frampton. I am an astrologer and psychic medium. I have spent my life to date studying metaphysics and astrology. I am also a linguist. I consider astrology to be a language and much more. I decode planetary movements to provide accurate insight and predictions to individuals as well as organisations. I specialise in predictive astrology. All information is available if you know where to look and how to decode the symbols. Everything that occurs here on Earth and in your life is proven to be intrinsically interconnected with the planets in our solar system. I scrutinise and interpret astrology charts for myself and my clients. Why? So that we can see the full story. So that we can identify specific problems that need to be avoided or addressed. So that we can navigate life safely and successfully. So that we are aware of opportunities and don't miss out. So that we fly high and improve our circumstances. So that we are much happier, healthier, and more successful. This is what kings and queens paid for. So let's put the magic of metaphysical insight to work in your life. Please visit my website, stephenframpton.com, for more information about my work. Take my 30 free astrology classes. Just text the word astrology in uppercase to the number 42828 in the United States. Or visit my other website, freeastrologyteacher.com.